And there she blows.
There we are.
There you are.
Uh-huh.
Getting
What's
ready.
happening, everybody out there in spray wash land?
And in direct territory of the hurricane, right?
That's right. Spray wash land is definitely in the middle of the hurricane. So
It is getting ready for it.
the I think I like that view better.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm having a lot of trouble with my camera, so the far away thing, it doesn't want to focus anymore. So I got to get another one yet. Anyhow, so hey there, hi there, ho there, out in spray wash land. We are back from the huge convention, and tonight we were going to talk about 1099 employees. However, a little bit of pressing things coming up with the hurricane, so we thought we would kind of discuss that instead. Maybe push the 1099 thing back to next week and kind of go from there. And there is so much that there's so much you can do after a hurricane, and there's so much that you shouldn't do after a hurricane. And, because there's a lot of money to be made. And some of it's, in my opinion, morally and ethically, not there. And I know that there's a lot of people that'll disagree with, hey, money's making money and all that kind of stuff. But I just don't see it that way. If you take advantage of people kind of regardless, I don't care what the point of it is or whatever, I just disagree with it. So anyhow, I don't know where that horse came from, but it's there.
Well, but let me speak to that. I actually heard one of the shows, a cast that I listened to specializes in weather. And they said, you actually would be amazed at how many multiple billions of dollars are based around the hurricane industry.
Yep.
And not jealous bad profiteering, but money that the government's already going to spend, utility companies are already going to spend, have already spent out there, that insurance companies are going to spend. If you're making money off a hurricane selling $20 bags of ice, okay, you're a jerk.
Yep.
But if you are making money as a government contractor, if you're making money as a private contractor, like, I've got a Kubota tractor with a grapple and a bucket sitting right over there that very well could have the opportunity to make $1,500, $2,000 a day during the storm cleanup. Is that wrong? No, it's not. It's I've got insurance, I've got skills, qualifications, and yeah, I mean, it absolutely. So I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. And I think, you and I kind of speak to this through a little bit of an expert, prism right here, because we both gone through multiple hurricanes
A couple of them, right?
Yeah. I mean, and hell, you lost everything you had a couple of times. From them. I've been, luckier than that and gotten away with minimal damage, but we both kept our companies going through those storms. We actually thrived through those storms.
Yeah.
And this is some of the things that we wanted to talk about tonight. And if anybody is out there watching, feel free to share this on some of the other, oh goodness. The Facebook forums. Feel free to share that. Wouldn't mind at all. And Ryan, I'm sorry I didn't call you back. I got your message, and I will. I promise you, it's just been a little bit crazy at the store. I don't know. Is it worth driving across state lines? Possibly. So we also have to look at, and you might need to share it from my page. I don't know if it'll let you share it. You might be on Doug or my page to actually share this out. But this is information that
from the YouTube page.
So a couple of things with the hurricane, and let's just start. First off, a lot of us have transient type employees. And by transient employees, I mean, some of us have guys that have been there, a long time. Others of us have guys that we've picked up that might not be the most stable guys in the world, that might not be make it the highest upper echelon of the food chain wage-wise, as far as our employees are concerned. Understand that those are the people that during a hurricane get impacted the worst. They may find new job opportunities. They may go to work for a contractor who scores a contract with Duke Energy, moving debris and stuff, and they're paying $30 an hour and you're only paying $20 an hour or $18 an hour. And who can fault them for doing that, even though that job isn't going to last that long? Also,
that's an important point, though. Keep going.
Yeah, but also, and I'm not saying, oh, what a scumbag, employee that is at all, because they kind of have to watch out for themselves. And remember, and here's where it gets devastating to us as contractors. If your residential market gets wiped out, if your residential market gets kicked in the teeth right there, and you're not doing roof cleanings, we didn't do a lot of roof cleanings after Hermine came because, frankly, there wasn't a lot of roofs. Our roof cleaning dropped off drastically after Hermine and down coastal wise after Michael, because what Hermine didn't take, Michael got rid of at that point.
So I want to touch real quick on what you're saying, though, where I think now is the time to have the conversation with your employees. First of all, there's things you can do, because nobody's going to want to wash or have the roofs done right now anyhow. So, you could be out helping people prep for the storms. But what I'm talking about too is that prepping your employees for what's coming. And in that, yeah, a lot of times if you get the certain employees and you're paying them, again, like Ray's thing saying $20 an hour, and yet they look at somebody says, hey, I'll pay you $30 an hour to come work. Talk to them now about these are possibilities that could happen, and those are very short-lived. And a great example of that, I had somebody that did that. And then shortly thereafter, they came back and wanted a job, and I didn't give them a job back. And my point is that if you show them this is long-term versus that is a very short-term thing, now the other flip side of that is that going out and finding contractors that already have FEMA contracts and things like that, Scott Torsey would be a great one to talk to on that, where that if your area gets wiped out and you've got no house washes and you've got no roof cleanings and all that kind of thing, why not team up with another contractor that does have these contracts in place to take your employees while the rebuild is in process and then transition them back to you once everything is getting back to normal?
Yeah, absolutely. Like lease your employees out or lend them out for a little bit. Because if you're shut down, let's face it, your residential might be in the, your traditional thought of residential might be in the toilet for a while. Now, that being said, so I'm really, really proud that through the stuff that we went through, we were always, the day after the hurricane passed, we were working. Now, sometimes it was a magic trick on my part to make that work happen. I was out there actively working the phones and had, stuff, hey, how about we bump this wash up? Because I literally watched my residential calendar, disappear in front of my eyes for a couple of weeks, whenever people have junk all over their houses, and trees down, they're not necessarily wanting to the roofs caved in. They're not going to continue on with that house wash. So it can be very,
sorry, Scott.
It can be very detrimental to your existing schedule. But things like, our commercial accounts, right now is the time, guys, right now is the time where you need to be out there contacting these people, getting out there, reaching out to them and saying, hey, you know what? The Spray Wash Exterior, by email, on your social media page, on your TikTok, just however you reach out there, and all the different ways that you're reaching out to your customers, getting out there and telling them, Spray Wash Exterior Cleaning is here for you during this difficult time. While we absolutely hope that any effects of Idalia is minimal. If you do have any damage or issues, feel free to call on us. We specialize obviously in our traditional soft wash, pressure wash, but we can also help with debris removal, flood mitigation, blah, 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 whatever it is you want to wind up offering those services for them. You know, if you're a big commercial guy right now, it is an amazing time to get out there and say, hey, let us be your eyes and ears. We can run and check your properties out. We can get out and about. I've got a chainsaw. You know, what am I authorized to do work to at this point?
Not only that, Ray, but you could actually, right now is the right time to reach out and get put on standby status for them. And even if there's a fee to be charged for that, right? Yep. Do you want us to be on standby for anything that you're going that may need to be done? These are pieces of equipment that we have available to us. Sure. And, you know, we have tarps, we have chainsaws, we have this, we have that. And, you know, we'll be on standby. The cost to be on standby for you is X number of dollars, whatever that is, right? And I want to point out something here. Pressure Washing by Sterling Wash said, you know, here in Kentucky, we get floods, so a lot of this still applies. I'm also going to throw out there, it applies in any and every natural disaster, whether it's a lot of the fires that we got going on here, going on Hawaii and the, you know, the West Coast. All natural disasters fall under this same privy, if you would.
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, James Mazzella made a post over in Spray Wash today about, you know, it's about to start raining money in Florida. And it really is. And if you look at the swath, if this thing coming in, you know, anywhere from just north of Tampa to, and the flood maps are amazing. So even guys in Tampa that may miss out on the wind, looks like y'all are still going to get some severe flooding down in Tampa Bay area. But this is going up to Jacksonville. You know, and that cone, it's actually kicking a little more west. We're in the hurricane zone now ourselves. We're under a hurricane watch. We will get turned into a hurricane warning by tomorrow morning, is my understanding. My coastal areas down at St. Mark's, Wakulla County are expected to have up to a 12-foot storm surge. That would, you know, any of my guys from this area listening, that would wrap around almost over to Apalachicola, where I think it's an 6 to 8 foot storm surge on there. Put it like this: my voice still isn't right from the huge, but
I know
literally any and every tropical storm that we have been through has generated extra tens of thousands of dollars for our company. Whether it be from damaged property, from you know, new cleanings of stuff, and also from storm cleanup. And people forget what an amazing tool a pressure washer is for a storm cleanup. And, you know, angry oceans throw salt spray all over everything. I remember just doing dozens of houses down at St. George Island where people just wanted the salt spray and then the insulation off of their house, where, you know, houses that had gotten severely damaged and got breached, it put insulation all over their screen porches and sticking to their siding and stuff. The pressure washer worked absolutely amazing for that. Pressure washers are good for removing sand. Whenever pool decks get sandy and up under their carport, sand gets out there. It's great.
It goes a little bit further than that too. When you look at the pressure washing side of it, right? You know, just like is being said here, what about a sump pump?
Yeah.
You know, for water, getting water out of the properties. But how many of you actually own a sump pump? But what a lot of you do own is a sludge sucker, right? So if you've got a sludge sucker, you can still suck that out, you know, that water out. You get that mud built up inside, you can pressure wash and then suck it out again, you know. So there are lots of things that can be done with your pressure washer. And to answer Ryan's question, he said, did everyone?
Yeah, I mean, a sludge sucker is one of the most amazing tools in the world. You're moving, you know, 50 gallons a minute with Absolutely. A sludge sucker. So, you know, Michael's, you know, sitting here. We're in the storm watch right now in Brevard. Absolutely, you know, call your people. Also, prep work, guys. Putting furniture away. If people live in a coastal area,
you can do that for your customers.
Putting storm shutters up. Amazing thing you can do. And guys, this thing, if you look at the wind maps, and I wish I'd have done this from the office tonight and had the double monitor so we can look at the wind maps. This is going to bring winds. some models are showing this could actually come ashore as a Category 4, and it's probably going to be strengthening right up until the point of landfall, which is kind of crazy.
I will say right now something that I don't think that we've actually even talked about before, but right now is a really good time to send out a newsletter. And what I mean is that, talk about the different aspects that people maybe haven't even thought about yet. Like, do you have a trampoline in your yard? Have you disassembled that trampoline? Is that trampoline anchored? Do you have the canopy off of your boat? Do you have whatever it is that's needed to make sure that things aren't blowing away or getting teared down. Yeah, absolutely. Wind chime.
You need to have this. You need to have the helpful tips on your. And you could even do a series of helpful tips on your social media, on your website, on your blog page, and then you can offer to help people to do this as well. Do you have any elderly or people that are just too busy doing this? We can come by your house and put stuff up. Let us help make your house hurricane secure. But we're, they said at the Florida Georgia line, one of the models showed at the Florida Georgia line, not that there's a ton of houses out there, but it is going through a lot of small communities, Live Oak, Jasper, Lake City, but it's going to have 95-mile-an-hour winds at the Florida Georgia line. That's pretty freaking, that's still a hurricane inlet. It's going to be, yes, I'm live. I love you. Good night.
Love you too, honey.
Doug loves you. No, that was Finn. And Ryan's right with his comment right here, but this thing is going to go up to Brunswick, Savannah area, and still be tropical storm strength. I mean, if you're in North Carolina, listen to us. If you're in South Carolina, listen to us. If you're in Southeast Georgia, listen to some of these hints. And like Ryan says, even if you never make a dime, putting a list on that social media can really help people out. And it can also really help you out as well, too.
Absolutely. When you look at that, everything you're doing may not make you $1 today, but after people get back on their feet and they start thinking about who helped them out, you're going to be one of those first phone calls, or could be one of those first phone calls. Let's say their house was destroyed and they moved to another place and they decide they want it cleaned up. People remember people doing good for them, and it's just the way it is, kind of thing. You don't have to remember all of them, but they're going to remember you.
Right. And there's a big, I was listening to Mike's weather page actually just before I got on here. And one of the things that Mike's weather page, and I love that guy. I think he's just such a great authority on storms. He said people are just not taking the storm serious, at least down in the Tampa area, Clearwater, St. Pete, where they're going to have a massive storm surge. And they said, the Publix was empty. And usually, and some of it may be hung over from last year with Ian and the storms, coming down. But people are not paying as much of attention, and because of where this is going into, Cedar Key, Steinhatchee, Osceola, not a very populated area. But once it gets in there to Highway 27, we are going to see a lot more population. And we're going to see a lot of again, Tampa, metropolitan areas. And Tampa covers millions of people between St. Pete, Clearwater, Pinellas, Polk, Hillsborough, not Broward, counties. The villages, it's going to probably impact the villages. It may impact Ocala. Guys, if you have social media, talk about storm cleanups, talk about flood mitigation, talk about removing mud. This could be absolutely huge for you.
So let me answer this, because we said it at the very beginning. Tonight was supposed to be the night for the 1099, but with the upcoming storm, we are pushing that back to next week. So yes, the plan is for next week to do the 1099 stuff. And I'm saying that not knowing whether or not I'm going to be back for that.
Not, I'll be here.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll figure that. But yeah, that's the reason. So tonight was supposed to be the 1099, but because of the storm, that's why we're not doing it.
So again, and I want to go back. Oh, Monday. Oh, you know what, Doug? It's going to be a week after because that's.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
And look, if you need to, if you, because I mean, I know we've been discussing this several times. If you need some specific, if you're looking for some specific answers, give me a holler. Again, no legal advice and all that kind of stuff, but you can give me a holler. We'll talk here.
Likewise,
because I know you've been asking for a while. We keep putting it on and it keeps getting postponed. It's not intentional, just like tonight. You know, I mean, it wasn't meant to not be talked about. Anyhow, hey, I want to touch on one thing, and that is, you know, somebody had mentioned earlier about crossing state lines, and you know, great time for coming down and, you know, making some extra money and all that kind of fun stuff. And you have to watch because, you know, different, and I don't know what the rules are there in Florida, but you know, you can come across the state lines, make a lot of money. You could also come across the state lines and lose a lot of money if you're not careful, because if you get caught in some states, like Louisiana is one of them, where if you're an unlicensed contractor in the state and you're coming after, you know, the storm chasing thing, they can get pretty upset with you. So can some of the local people, where they will they'll pick up the phone and they'll make the calls to the police departments and stuff like that. Or I mean, I've heard of guys, you know, flattening tires of contractors and things like that are from out of state. It's a good thing. People need help, all that kind of stuff. It's just, I'm saying watch both ways and maybe check with a local contractor that you could work under. Hang your sign, you know, saying, hey, working under so-and-so's license, whatever. Make sure that you're clear on that. You'll get a lot further. And again, I don't know what the rules are there in Florida, but I know that's how it is here in Louisiana too. So, well,
and you know, Florida does not have a statewide rule for pressure washer. We don't have a statewide license. We don't have a.
I don't mean, so let me clarify. I mean, but not just for pressure washing, but I'm talking storm
contracting services.
Yeah, contracting.
I mean, and then you're going through a fine line right there. Like, I don't know of a license for storm cleanup, but I know if you start doing construction stuff, you know, you better, if you start swinging a hammer and a nail and doing demo and things like that, yeah, you might need at least a carpenter's license, if not a GC license, and you might need to pull permits as well. Usually they don't pull permits for storm cleanup.
Yeah, not at all. There is no, I mean, as far as I know, there's no permitting process during storm season.
Somebody asked the question, so what's it going to be? It's probably going to be a 3, but a couple of models have shown 4.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of scary. And they can, you know, it keeps getting back to the west a little bit, which is scary for us. I put this on my social media, by the way. If there are any evacuees, not that with the latest models this is any good, but if there's any evacuees out there, I've got 3 acres, relatively tree free. We can park, you know, definitely flood free. We can park rigs, you know, out here on my yard. I'm
gonna skip a couple of comments, and I'm gonna go right to Carlos. And the reason being, I'm gonna go right to Carlos. Good to see you on here, buddy. So first of all, I'm gonna get through this comment. The National Guard usually controls who can enter into a disaster zone. But Carlos shared something with me earlier today about New Look Power Wash. So I can't remember the exact words that are searched for, but New Look Power Wash comes up in his area and my area as #1 for storm cleanup. And that's a testament to the power of your or not your Facebook, but of your website and your web advertising and setting it up, you know, now. I mean, even to this day, even though he sold that company and all that kind of stuff, he still is coming up nationwide for storm cleanup. I think that's awesome.
Right. Well, it's kind of like how you and I both still come up for steeples.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. But you know, and ironically, Carlos, like I was in Panama City 2 days after Michael hit, and I was at Dustin Ziegler, worked with Mercy Chef, said, Ray, first time we've ever been in a storm where we had no water. We literally don't have water, and the city's water isn't going to come online for a couple of weeks. And they did meals for first responders. And I loaded up 2 Totes and Tanya and I went over there. It's really kind of cool because the church that we met at, she got to work with Joyce Meyer Ministries, loading, unloading semis that were coming in of supplies, which was really, really a neat, just to see that blessing. And she got to help one of her idols. And then I was over there unloading the water for Mercy Chefs. But, it was interesting because we ran into people and just, explained what we were there for. Honestly, if you are going to kind of go into an area and wildcat, I would probably know somebody's name. If it's real severe damage, I would probably be able to reference somebody that, hey, Doug Gore has asked me to come down, maybe even share an email with them or, all that. I would probably do that just to be safe if there's a lot of devastation. I mean, as far as tropical storms and
minor stuff. Not that it's minor, but more minor.
Category 1, 2 hurricanes.
Yeah.
In Florida,
it's not as devastating.
You're not going to see now category 4 and above. Yeah, you might see the National Guard out there, severe flooding. It would be real interesting. You will see them then, but typically speaking, they're not going to be checking the.
Just going back to this comment where it says, I've gone in and out of state pressure washing for 10 years, never had a problem. Yes. And that's not what I meant. I wasn't talking specifically about pressure washing, and it's my mistake for not stating, the contracting side, like even taking down trees and things of that nature, and storm cleanup, I guess, other than outside the pressure washing realm.
Right.
Thing. So
yeah, I mean, I've gone Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Mississippi. I'll tell you something though. I did learn though, if you do go out of state and you do have workers' comp and you have employees, you had better find out whether or not your workers' comp is covering your employees by every state that you are driving in.
So that's another thing.
And I was quite shocked to learn that. You
can do that, you probably can't do it today. It's too late, but you can do that first thing in the morning. Call your insurance agency and say, hey, we're here in Louisiana. We're going to cross over the state lines into Florida, go help them boys out. This is what we'd like to do, right? Or contact maybe a company over there in Florida. Like coming to my mind right now is a temp agency and saying, hey, I'd like to bring my guys over and work under the temp agency umbrella. They're going to make money off of you. Don't get me wrong. So, you got to take all of that into account. But think about it this way too. You're also going to be doing more dangerous work, and the odds of somebody getting hurt actually goes up. And so do you want that, sitting there? That's why I'm also saying team up with a local contractor who can take your employees under their payroll. That way they're covered under their payroll and not your payroll. And everybody gets to win-win, make money, and help people, which is going to be probably the biggest part of it.
I learned this, and to show you how fickle this rule is, we were with Southeast Payroll. Southeast Payroll at that time, I don't know if they are now or not, are not licensed in Alabama. We were doing a very large apartment complex in Mississippi. So I sent 2 guys in a truck to Mississippi to go subcontract for somebody. What now happens under there, and I was talking to my agent about that, and I knew we were good in Mississippi because I called and said, are we covered in Mississippi? Yes, my guys were covered in Mississippi. Well, we were talking, months later, and they said, yeah, we're not licensed in Alabama. We don't offer services in Alabama. And I said, that's crazy. And he said, I meant to call you and tell you, but I didn't. Oops. He said, but if your guys would have gotten into an accident or cut their hand on a rig or gotten into an auto accident or something, that would have been covered under workers' comp for the 60 miles they were driving down I-10 in Alabama, your employees would not have been covered.
Yeah.
And what I would have needed to do was to go to get a separate policy for them in Alabama, which I thought was just amazing. You would have thunk it, but no, if something would have happened, workers' comp would not have covered. Now, what's the chances of that happening? Very little, but still we like to be covered on things.
And then just like Carlos is saying, and like we're talking about, I mean, you need to talk to your insurance carrier because, and again, not insurance advice, legal advice, all that, but I mean, how would the insurance work if you're trying to remove a tree, yet you're not, that's not what your policy is about. Your policy is about the pressure washing or soft washing industry. So again, you know, teaming up with another contractor or making sure that you have the proper insurance for that. Again, to harp on the same thing, doing tree removal is more dangerous than pressure washing is.
Yep.
So, you know, you're introducing yourself into a much higher risk category, and don't take the chance. It's not worth it.
Well, you know, in tree removal, you know, you'd have to check and see because you need an arborist license in Florida, but I know that's for a living standing tree. I don't know, you know, what about debris removal? Insurance cross state lines, we just checked on it, but yeah, check with your policy to make sure, your carrier to make sure that you're covered in there. Taxes across state lines, pay them. I know that Florida is pressure washing services are not taxable in Florida. Window cleaning, however, is. That's why we gave away a lot of free window cleaning, or did not separate line item that when we did pressure washing. It was included as a convenience of the pressure washing, not just or soft washing, not just a window cleaning. Mm-hmm. So 700 for the recent fire. If there's destruction, which is to be expected, wondering what the government will give out for this. Yeah. You know, Florida. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say what just happened there.
I hit the wrong button. You know, Florida doesn't really give out money for hurricanes, Carlos, or whoever said for 700 for the recent fire. You know, Florida's more of a deal with it. You live in Florida, it's expected, you know. And yeah, Florida has a pile of volunteer fire departments. Absolutely.
And Carlos, I mean, I think is a lot of that's coming because, again, like we said before, his website still ranks #1 for that, meaning he's got some good knowledge for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I had another thing here I was going to bring up.
Well, and I want to go, I know we've kind of changed over audiences here during the time we've been on. I want to go back and talk about the employee issue, Doug, that we had. So remember, if you've got employees, keep them busy, guarantee them work, lease them out to someone else, have the talk with them beforehand that, guys, things might get a little rough here. I, as the leader of this company, I'm doing everything I can to go out here and shake the branches, no pun intended, to make things happen out here. You know, keep you guys busy and working.
You know, one of the things that I found interesting. So, you know, we had the big storm coming through here, and I think, again, I'm not 100% positive, but I think the way that it works out on the insurance side, or through talking to my adjuster when he came out to my house to assess what happened with us, right? Like most insurance policies, from the way it was described to me, they won't cover a tree that falls in the yard. Okay. However, they will cover a tree that does one of a couple things. Like if the tree falls and hits on any piece of property, like if it takes out a fence, it takes out a light pole, it takes out a chicken coop in my example, then the removal of that tree and then the chicken coop can be covered under the policy. Same thing with if the tree falls and leaves debris across the driveway, which would be the emergency exit in and out, that type of a tree would be covered. So if people are having trouble with, policies and all that, if you happen to notice that, yes, it fell on this or it fell on that, or it is across the driveway, you can help them out by making sure that you've got that documented so that they can get that covered in their policy side of it. And that's going to help them out a lot. And that, I think, is important.
And I also would recommend don't plan on insurance paying for this. Mm-hmm. This is not something, you should tell the homeowner, check to see if you can be reimbursed for this. But I would certainly not wait for a check from the insurance. If I'm tarping a roof, if I am removing debris, if I am sludge,
you're not going to get paid right then and there on that kind of
you
thing.
want to get paid for it. You want a check, you want a something, you want a MasterCard, you want to get paid for this. You do not
I can hold the check. Right.
Huh?
I can hold the check until
I can hold it for you for 2 weeks. I understand time's tough, absolutely. But yeah, I'm not going to go and submit a excuse me on their insurance claim. Not going to do it. Not going to do it.
I would help them file whatever they needed to get that done, and I would offer to hold the check, but that check is going to signify that they agreed to have that work done and at that price point. And so if they can't get it done under insurance, then you go ahead and cash the check. I would do that.
And let's talk about roof tarping too, Doug, for a minute. You know, we actually learned this from one of our buddies whenever Sandy hit New York or New Jersey up there. And he went to a Home Depot, and I think he said he spent he bought them out of tarps and 1x2 burring strips and screws, you know, about $5,000-$6,000 in that. And he was like, well, I can take these back. I did the same thing at Spray Wash whenever we had the opportunity. And then I did it again. And we always did very well with emergency roof tarping, which is reimbursable by insurance. And every storm, we did a few of them, didn't even push it a lot, but had, you know, hey, please come out. You know, we had a tree come down, knocked a hole in the gable, and just we need a quick, you know, something put in here. And we went from huge roof tarps to small roof tarps and everything in between.
You know, and here's another good point, backing up 2 steps to where about getting a check from the homeowner, acknowledging, you know, payment and all that kind of stuff. And my son has a friend who's their family didn't have insurance. Okay. They had paid their house off. They owned it outright. And so they just, you know, decided we don't need it. We don't have to pay for insurance anymore because nobody's forcing us to do it. A tree landed on not on their house, but their carport obviously is attached to the house, landed on the carport, caved the carport in. And, you know, they had somebody come out and tarp and do all this stuff and cut the tree up and all that. Only find out they have no insurance to pay for that. And so the insurance company wasn't reimbursing the contractor for the tarp. The insurance company wasn't reimbursing the contractor for taking out the tree. You know, it's something that the homeowner would have to pay for. And that's why it's kind of important to make sure that you're covering your butt and those kinds of things. And this is one of those things where I don't feel like you're taking advantage of anybody other than if you're saying, you know, this is something I think I should be charging $2,000 for, but I'm going to charge $4,000 because
I want to clarify again. I'm not telling anybody to go out and do unlicensed tree work. I mean, I'm saying if you're cutting up stuff that's on the ground,
pressure washing, anything.
Yeah. I'm not saying go up and cut off twisted limbs that are still hanging down, because in my mind, that would be arborist work and you need a license for that. And it's fairly dangerous. I'm saying if you're cutting up debris that's on the ground, you're moving sludge, you're stacking up lumber that got blown over. Yeah. I mean, I get that, but
you're getting stuff off the driveway and all that so that they can ingress and egress kind of thing.
Right. You know, just be safe, you know, on your stuff
and whatever it is that you do.
But, you know, and again, I want to go back to the other guys that have just joined us. Guys, y'all know that we have, you know, the sludge sucker, an amazing tool for getting rid of mud and debris and junk and stuff that's out there.
This is probably one of those times where I would say a red tip can come in handy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, sometimes blowing some of that stuff out and creating drainage ditches. A lot of times we did that with our red tip or with our shooter tip. You know, you get in there and the water's all piling up somewhere and it can't get to you know, we got the drainage ditches here and, you know, it just can't get it there. So, you know, you got to cut a little trench, and that's where a red tip or a shooter tip even, but usually a red tip, you know, 8.5 gallon a minute, 3,500 PSI, it'll tear up the grass and dig you a little trench pretty quick.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, that's one of those things that we can, you know,
even I'll go even further on that. So let's say you have a low area of water, right? But your sludge sucker's not quite getting, all, and it's all seeping kind of slowly. You can take like a shooter tip or red tip, and you can dig a hole that you can then stick your sludge sucker in, and the water will actually drain in there faster and help get it out a little bit quicker by doing it that way.
Yeah, I agree.
I love the sludge sucker. It's an awesome tool.
Oh, amazing.
And Ryan's saying best tool for that is a turbo tip. What is that one called? I think it's called the hacksaw.
Rip saw, the hydro excavation. Yeah.
Yeah. The rip saw would be awesome for that.
Yep. Whole loading dock, reclaims. Yeah. I mean, reclaims can be good, especially if a place to, and I wouldn't say reclaim in the typical sense of a reclaim, but reclaim and then going out and dumping it out in the other mud piles as well too. Because your true dump sites are gonna be, a reclaim, especially if you've got some slow rising water or water that's stuck in an area, because all the reclaim really is a vacuum. And you might even need to go and put your reclaim on and open the drain tube up and just let it suck for a while, while you're doing other stuff over there. I know that my former company, I was talking to them this afternoon, and they said, yeah, they've got their reclaim trucks, standing by for the storms and ready to marshal out and go. And they've got, dozens of reclaim setups.
Yeah. On the reclaim side of it too. I mean, right now is the opportunity to send out the email to all your commercial clients, your residential clients, put it out as a little newsletter and letting them know that you have that tool available if they happen to get floodwaters and sludge and all that inside of their business or whatever, that you can come and you can remove that. Being top of mind at a time like this is extremely important. And once the storm hits, and again, we're talking about people coming from out of state, these people are going to be inundated by people with signs and, hey, getting to it fast. This is also where I'm saying letting them know that you're on standby for them. And that way they can just pick up the phone and call you and you'll be right over and that kind of thing, or getting their approval and permission ahead of time. If it does flood, do you want us to come and, start sucking that stuff out of there, or doing this, or cleaning off the dry, do you want us to remove the tree limbs and, those kinds of things? Find that out now so that you have pre-authorization to go and do that work.
Michael just brought up a great point, like a deep loading dock that if here's the door of that, one of the ones that a semi goes down into on there. Those things have drains, and they get, understand that city sewage, city storm drains will get overwhelmed at times like this, and trash will get in there and plug those things up, and stuff might not move. And if your loading dock's filled with water, you don't get supplies in. I would have an idea of what shopping centers had those lowered loading docks out there, and I'd probably go ahead and get in touch with that manager. You know what? The worst case with you tomorrow or Wednesday, getting out here and reaching out to people and offering your services, that you might meet a few more people and be in a better position to market yourself, because the week after the storm, you might meet some new contacts, people going, wow, thank you very much for letting us know that's handled. But wait, what did you say your name was again? What all do you do? And you're marketing yourself. You're just using this disaster or potential disaster to market yourself.
And that's something that actually doesn't stop after, right now, that's something you should be doing throughout the year, is letting them, because who knows when the next storm is going to come. Yep. And staying top of mind for them and letting all of your contacts know, hey, storm season's coming up, the whole newsletter thing, and just staying top of mind every, 3 months or so that you do storm cleanup. It might be very advantageous on the side, the marketing side of it might cost you money now, but the return of that coming back later on and getting people on a standby, I think selling standby would be a great thing to do.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Inland waters, part of Sandy cleanup, cleaned out parking garages, hydraulic pumps, wet vacs. Yeah. 100%. Right insurance license, you can run a vacuum truck and make a killing. Yeah. Plant the seed, marketing. Yeah. $99 guys love these situations. Yeah, how true.
$49
guys love it because they're screwed. I hate to say it. The guys that are like, hey, let me clean your driveway. Dude, I've got trees down. I can't see my driveway, but no, I mean, they'll actually do a lot of $99 jobs, undervalued services. That's the sad part of it. They'll make enough to keep themselves going along.
Even taking, I'm thinking out loud here a little bit with like my front yard is just inundated with all the leaves. So you would swear that it's heavy fall right now because it has been so hot that all of the trees have dried up and are dropping their leaves. And so thinking about this down towards Florida, if you've got kind of the same situation going on, and even if the storm isn't that bad, but it just brings all the leaves down, your pressure washer can blow all those leaves, into a pile in no time. So there are lots of
amazing tool, Yes, sir. Well, Doug, I need to wrap a little bit early tonight.
Not a problem. I think we covered just about everything we needed to cover anyhow.
I got actually starting with prep and putting chairs away out by the pool and starting to
get the boat picked up,
some pool furniture and things like that for wind chimes are going away. And, in the famous words of, I think it was Rod White, he said, it's not that the wind is blowing, it's what the wind is blowing. So, yep. Yeah, I got to go pick that boat up tomorrow. We're getting, they said, between 8 and 12 foot storm surge down at the marina where we keep it. So,
you're saying that, and think about it. You could offer boat storage in your yard. And I'm saying,
I'll put the note out there for people. If you're an evacuee, you're welcome to put your stuff in my yard. I'm 3 acres high and dry. The only bad thing is, though, that track is getting a little more west, so you might be putting your rig in ground zero. So,
Ryan, what's your true opinion on the Aqualine drone we saw at the Huge? I only give my true opinion. I don't lie, cheat, or steal from anybody. I've kind of had these discussions, and my true opinion of the Aqualine drone is that it is the best on the market. And I learned so much at the Huge convention about the Aqualine and about others. And man, I just. So one of the things that they did, and I know that we're off topic here and all that, but one of the things that they did was they added a dual GPS system. They put a radar on front. They've done some other things. I think, to me, drones are not an end all be all. I think they are the future of the industry. And when I say that, what I mean is simply that they're going to be very large. They're going to take over some large projects. They're going to be the water-fed pole that came out several years ago, and everybody thought it was stupid. But now they're in everybody's trucks for the most part. So Aqualine, I think, is a good company, and I do think that I love that drone. I don't know what else to tell you on that side of that, other than feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to discuss all the details with you and all that kind of fun stuff.
Somebody's saying buy ratchet straps.
Yep.
Every year, $1,100 donation to flood victims. Yeah. Floods suck. Floods really, really suck.
That they do.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow.
I think you're up to 800.
What is he saying? I think you're up to 800.
Every year. Every yawn is $100 donation to flood victims. Oh, I think he's picking on you.
He is. He's picking on me because I for some reason I didn't get. And then you can still hear my voice, your voice. We're still hoarse from the Huge convention, and I'm wiped out. Very tired.
Yeah,
man. If it's $100 every time I yawn, I gotta goodbye. We're out of here because I'm going to be 20 grand into this thing in a heartbeat. Anyhow. All right, Ray's needing to cut out. He's looking at something and trying to figure it out.
I'm just trying to get what's going to happen here we're going to be in tropical storm winds tomorrow afternoon here in town. This thing is, people don't understand what a freight train this thing is going to become whenever it clears those.
If it stalls,
Cuba, and it's going to just beeline it by.
I'm telling you right now, if that thing stalls, which they're not calling for it to stall, but if it does stall, that thing's going to become massive because the water is so warm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm saying, I mean, my guess is category 3 around Osceola, which for property protection would be probably the best of all, because from St. Mark's on down to Steinhatchee is in the Big Bend area, and I'm not discounting Keaton Beach and Grayton Beach and areas like that. They're small, very small beach communities, no stores, no hotels, things like that. Just some random beach houses, no real big subdivisions. So that would be it's going to suck for them, but that would be better than Cedar Key or Steinhatchee or God forbid, anywhere south of Cedar Key, coming in Crystal River, Homosassa, bad. And then you get south of there, you get, Newport Richey, Sarasota, or Clearwater, bad. Millions of people.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right, guys. Thank y'all. Appreciate you. Take those outlets. Absolutely. Plant and property protection. Hey, Dustin.
There you go, baby.
Buddy.
We'll see y'all.
All right. See y'all. Thanks.